Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Excited to have you guys hopping on. Felt like I was whispering for a second. Our almost 5-month-old is pushing out his bottom teeth, so I feel like the majority of all the conversations I've had with my husband have been like, hello, do you want to do something? So I need to remember that he is outside. He is hanging out with dad. I can talk in a normal voice, and I do not need to whisper. So I just wanted to say, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. As I had mentioned, I was going to be making an announcement, and I will be doing that shortly. But before I do that, I really just want to tell you why I started this podcast. Because to be honest with you, I have always wanted to use my voice and use my humor and my wit and my funniness and this rawness to just really reach people that were in a place that they felt maybe unreachable, to be kind of like a light in the dark, or to be the cheerleader to say, like, you can do this. We can do this. Or for someone that has all of their stuff and it's everywhere in their mind and they just need someone to plan it out. I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to use my voice to be able to get a chance to do that. And in a former life, I got this beautiful opportunity to travel across the country and do that on stages with hundreds and thousands of people. And it filled my whole heart up. And I missed that part of myself. And I was looking back at when I would go to summer camp when I was in college. And the only thing I ever said that I wanted to be was a speaker to help people. That and to swim with killer whales. But the killer whales one just comes around every winter. But I really want to jump into this because the whole reason, again, it was just really wanting to empower women to kind of just regain that direction so that they can pursue the things of themselves that they've left behind along the way. And I don't know how it is for you, and maybe you can put a yes in the comments, but do you feel like you're ready to live out your purpose? Do you feel like you're finally ready to take the intention of dreaming about it and putting it into implementation? Because for me, earlier this year, that's 100% where I was. I knew I was going to be having a baby, and I knew it was going to be complicated and messy, but I was like, you know what? I'm ready to bet on me. I'm ready to do this. I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines, or even worse, not even in the arena, just sitting in the parking lot, just thinking that things weren't going by and that things weren't happening. And so if that you were like me and where I was earlier this year, I want to invite you to say, like, if you're ready to step on the court, I'm ready to meet you there. And there's never going to be a right time. For those of you, I got friends trying to have babies, friends trying to start businesses, friends trying to just everything. There will never be a right time. But what I'm going to be telling you is on October 9th at 7 p.m., I'm going to be hosting my first official masterclass on rediscovering the six-figure woman within. And I could not be happier and more excited to do that, because what I find ourselves in, and what I even find myself in, is like, it's time to stop stopping yourself from moving into who that you want to be and moving into who you're designed to be. And really just knowing, like, you deserve this chance. Take this moment. It is 100% designed for you. And on October 9th, we're going to rediscover it together. I put the link. I'll be putting it on Facebook. I've got it in my Instagram story. And I'm so excited to partner with you on this as we go into the Q4 of 2024 and starting out 2025 as the person we want to be. Let's not wait till December 31st to say, I'm going to start making some intentions on how I want to show up. No. Let's do that now. Let's do that together. Let's start building the framework so that when 2025 hits, we're already blowing the doors off that joint. And that's where I want to meet you in. Diving into the podcast also, I'm going to be changing the time to a little bit later in the day, because I have so many of you that are like, I never get to catch it live. I'm still at work. Don't you worry. I've been thinking about you the past few weeks, and we're going to be getting that started at 6:30. So I will be sending out all of the new information on that. But as we dive into the podcast tonight, I really want to talk about, I touched on it a little bit at the tail end of last week's episode, but element versus alignment. And as the thought was coming to me last week, I just wasn't getting it the way that I wanted it to, but there was something important in there that I wanted to go through and do that with you guys today, is that element and alignment are not the same thing. And they're not the same thing for two reasons. One, when you're in your element, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're in where you're supposed to be going. And two, when you're in your alignment, you don't always feel like you're in your element. And that's what I want to talk about tonight, and how to identify that, how to overcome that, how we can go ahead and work together for that. And so the thing that I've been telling myself over and over again, and I've been saying this for years, but it's, if you want to go someplace you've never been, you have to become someone you've never known before. Because growth in real life doesn't feel like you're in your element. It feels uncomfortable. It feels awkward. It feels like you're like, can this please end? Please let it end. And I want to talk about the difference of getting from your element into your alignment so you can go into your divine calling, because that's where your alignment is. That's what living is for. That is why we were, whether you believe that we were created, whether you believe that you have a higher self that have placed yourself here, at the end of the day, that's why we're all kind of wearing these human suits. You know, our soul's kind of wearing a human suit right now, and it's all for something. And what is that? And how to take the difference of, yeah, I'm in my groove versus, yeah, I'm in my calling. Because really what it is you kind of go into that calling. You're going to be fighting past you. You're going to be fighting who you used to be so that you can become future you. And how do you do that? How do you fight past you while also loving on her? Because that's another thing that I think so many times, especially as women, we can look back at versions of ourselves along the way, and we can just say, we can hold shame or regret or like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. However, every version of who you've ever been has led you to this very moment of who you are now and who you're going to be. And whether she was making mistakes, whether she was sitting on the sidelines, whatever it is that she was doing, she was going for it. She was there. She was strong. She got you to this exact point that you are right now. And so as you're moving into this past self to future self, while you're in the present, you have to decide, am I going to create a designed future, or am I going to keep living in the reruns of the past? And identifying on whether you're in your element versus your alignment can be one of the first steps that you can do that with. And so for me, you have to identify your patterns. And sometimes those patterns are really fun, and sometimes they're not. And for me, I'm going to share with you some of mine. Sometimes for me, it's depression. And there's this emptiness that can kind of be bigger than like me withdrawing from my present life. There's kind of like this hopelessness or this hollowness that kind of overtakes me. And it's the voices of my past letting me know that they don't think that I have what it takes. Another pattern I have is when I'm feeling really anxious, when I'm trying to become my future self and my present self, not trying to be my past self. When my past self gets really anxious, I notice that I just gravitate towards eating any chocolatey type treat, because in some ways it's kind of like this control of being able to make me feel good, but it's ultimately bad for me. And as you're asking yourself, it's like, what are the things that I'm doing that I'm self-sabotaging myself in my present to where I'm not going to be able to get to my future self? What is that? The other one that I want to point out, because again, it's not always things that make us feel kind of yucky. Sometimes there's things that make us feel so good. And for me, that's sometimes my ego. And what that feels like to me is I can feel my eyes get sharper. It almost like I feels like a dragon that's kind of like extending itself through my being. And I just got this flare about me that says like, fuck around and find out. Now, I love that Anna so much. She is so fun. But that's not where I am when I'm in my alignment. I need the fierceness of that. When I'm feeling anxious and needing some control, I need those emotions, but I need to handle them differently. You know, one of the things I loved about when I would get into this sadness is it's almost like I was getting to see all these versions of myself that were just kind of sitting down wondering like, is this ever going to work? Is it worth it? And it was like I was coming to my friends' versions of myself like I was running into them at a reunion. Like, oh my God, it's so good to see you, 2007 disappointment. Oh man, here we are again. And just really finding myself where I'm like, cool, I get some of my best inspiration from feeling that sadness and that weight. So how can I take what I already have that's in my element and turn it into being in my alignment. Because for me, if I can take that sadness, that's one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done so far is the one about regret and why it's so important to living a vital life and why it's so important to living a full life. And it was because I was sad about my dogs. And I'm like, man, that's how I can propel myself forward into my alignment, is by taking it and using it for myself, by understanding that, oh man, when I feel anxious, I am desiring to control. Maybe I need to take that time for my future, to become my future self, to meditate, to journal, to write out the pros and cons, to pray, to be able to use that. You know, when I get that look in my eye where I feel like the dragon of ego is coming through me, I'm going to need that, because I'm going to have a lot of people, maybe not a lot, maybe just two, who knows? There are going to be people that'll say, are you sure you want to do that? Is that really worthwhile? Is that the best use of your time? You have a brand new baby. You have a family. You have a full-time job. You have no business trying to be starting a business when you got all that other stuff. I need that fuck around and find out. I need that look in my eyes that say, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to do it because I want to do it. And I need that confidence that's there. Now, once you go ahead and identify the pattern is there, it is so hard. And I'm not trying to say when you're in the middle of it, when I'm in the middle of my sadness or depression or anxiety or my ego, to try to tell you, like, just get out of it. Girl, I know that doesn't work. And for me, I need to wait sometimes for that to pass before I can address it. And so if you're listening to this right now and you're like, I'm in the middle of this sadness, I'm in the middle of this anxiety, I'm in the middle of this ego or this pain or whatever it is, for me, I would tell my husband when that would overcome me, it's kind of like I'm out to sea when I'm on the negatives. When I'm in the ego state, I got to tell anybody that I'm there. You can just see it when you look at me. But you're not going to get out of it when you're in the middle of it. And so for those of you that are there or you find yourself there, for me, I can use music to get myself out of that, to kind of journal through it. And sometimes you just need to cry it out. I'd repeat it, but I might start crying it out. And I literally can't do that on this podcast tonight. But sometimes you just have to work through it and you have to go through it. And you have to wait till it's at the end for you to stand back up in case you're getting knocked around in a storm. And if you are, just know that you're not alone. And it's not because I go through them. It's because literally billions of people are going through them. And every single one of us, every single person on the planet is dealing with something. And it may not look like that on their Instagram, but their shit is they're going through something. And that you're not alone, even if you can't see that you're not alone. Understand and know that you're not. Set up fail safes. Because sometimes I'd be setting myself up to be sad. Because I got this whole song list and there's certain songs that'll come on and it's like a little slide and it is just taking me right where I know that I can go. It can take me right into that sadness. There's a song, it was on the Real Life Beauty and the Beast. How Does a Moment Last Forever? It's by Celine Dion. I listened to that song, no joke, probably 200 times and did a puzzle once till 5 a.m. And I was not getting out of that sadness to save my life. But now as I know and I can identify it, it's not that you're trying to change it. I don't want you to change who you are. Some of the best parts of me have come from the worst parts of me. And some of the best parts of you can come from the parts of you that you think are not valuable. But what you can do is say, cool, I know when I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to go to the 1, 2, 3 over there. And you can set up things to help you not get there or not stay there as long. For me, I have to be really careful about my music choices. And pre-pregnancy and pre-Jordan, I had to really be careful. And if I was drinking and also listening to those songs. You know, the other thing is I get this hollowness in me that it's like, I'll tell my husband, if you could just give me a hug, it will help snap me out of it. And he's looking at me going, there is no way I'm hugging you looking like that. You look mean and scary and like something's going to happen if I even get in your aura. and just, working with your people to say, like, this is how it's going to help me out of it. What is so great and what I love so much is our son Cam, he'll come hug me because and it gets me every time. And it just puts a little crack in this hardness that I'm feeling and setting up your system. So whether that's me needing to gather my thoughts or journal or talk about it with someone, you have to set yourself up in a safe place to be able to do that. And that's a whole other episode on what people are safe and what people aren't, but your soul knows, and honor that. And especially honor it when your soul is saying, girl, I wouldn't do that right now. Then that's a no. Take it as a no. If you can't say no, I'll say no for you. I got a list of girlfriends that'll let you know that I'll be saying no on your behalf. With anxiety for me, it's reminding myself that everything matters, that every interaction matters, but also what am I eating? That matters. Because if I'm eating a box of toffees and then I'm like, God, I feel so terrible. Well, no fucking wonder. Of course you feel terrible. Your mind is clouded. Your body is like, why did you do this? And setting myself up to win, because when I eat better, I feel better. My mind is clear. It's sharp. It's ready. And setting yourself up for that. And sometimes for me, when I'm doing my ego one, find a safe place to feel that way. There are parts of me where I'm like, that's probably not going to be working in my present self or my future self. But man, do I love getting to be her sometimes. I can do that through a creative outlet. I can tell my husband, take me dancing, take me to the Grizzly Rose. I want to feel that way. I want to be in a place where I can shine, but shine for myself, not with competition, not with ego, where I can go and I can just feel alive, where I can get that look in my eye that says, you going to mess with this? Because if I look at my husband that way, he's going to look at me and be like, oh yeah, I'm playing. Sign me up. Take my money, sign me up, whatever we're doing. I want to do that, because so many times, especially in this season of early motherhood, I'm forgetting to be Anna because I'm so stuck being mom. And that part can be hard when you're stuck being in this role that feels like it's never going to end, that you forget to be yourself because you love this new part of you, but you miss who you used to be. And so setting yourself in these opportunities to say, I'm going to go do that. So whether it's going out dancing with your friends or going out to dinner, or for me, sometimes it's just sitting on the couch with my dogs and I don't have any next thing I got to do except be there. Set yourself up to feel like you, the real you, because that's going to keep putting you into your alignment. There are so many ideas that I get on things I want to talk about, or things I want to do, or experiences I want to have, or things I want to build out for my family and their world, just when I get to feel like myself, when I feel like my aligned self. But you also need to remember, as you're traveling from your element into your alignment, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to see this friction or this resistance, and you're going to want to say, I'm not feeling that today. And that's okay, but give yourself a time limit. And then you got to get back up there. You got to keep doing it. You've got to keep going for you, because that's also a slide. You start feeling into your alignment, and then there's something uncomfortable you have to do. There's something you need to meet or face, a conversation, and you're like, I ain't trying to be doing that. And all of a sudden you slide back. And it's not like you take a step back. It's like that goddamn slide is going down a mountain. And if you don't get off of it quickly and rebuild, you're going to be much further behind than you were if you would have just gone through it. When I was in network marketing, our founder, he would say this a lot, but it's like the only way through is through. The only way from getting from your element into your alignment is to go through it. And that means doing uncomfortable things and having uncomfortable conversations, not always with people, but with yourself. Like an uncomfortable conversation that I'm having to have with myself right now is, I feel like when I'm not like myself, the solution is somehow to take that away from, let's say, my husband who feels like himself. So that I can just justify, like, I don't get to feel like me, so neither do you. I can see that that's my pattern. That's my element. That's not in my alignment for who I want to be. and taking those steps and having those conversations, mostly with yourself first. Because it's so easy for us to say, like, listen, I'm going to go tell them. No, chick, look in the mirror, tell yourself. And you're going to have to work through it. And it's going to look like a mess on your face. But what's nice is you'll be in your bathroom alone. Not on a live, not on a Facebook, not on a YouTube link. But I'm telling you this and I'm showing you this so that you will take that chance on you, so that you'll move from element to alignment, so that you'll finally bet on you. But you can't bet on who you are. You have to bet on who you know you can be. You have to bet on the girl and that version of you that you daydream about in your mind, where you're living your dreams in full. That version has done the work, and you have to also do the work. And you have to remember who you are. So whether that's affirmations, whether that's reminders, whether that's a vision board, and knowing that just because you realize who you are, Mufasa comes out of the clouds and tells you, remember who you are. Just because it happens in that moment doesn't mean it sticks. You have to keep working on it. You have to remind yourself every day, some days every hour. You have to show up for yourself. And if you're sitting there going, girl, I'm doing all them things, I just need a little bit of help, I'm going to remind you again, October 9th, we're doing a masterclass on rediscovering the six-figure woman within. And for you, if you got a dream that isn't tied to money, that's fine. Let's do it together. Let's uncover it. Let's get you into your alignment. Let's get you feeling alive. Let's get you feeling like you're finally doing what you were designed and created to do. Because we've all got something. And if you're not doing it, you are literally gypping the world, but you are gypping yourself. You deserve to find out and become everything you've ever wanted to be. And that's what I have to remind myself, which again, when you remind yourself and when you're listening to this on the replay and you're saying, I deserve to become everything I've ever wanted to be, you're going to be in your bathroom, in your room, in your car. You're going to be somewhere that is not doing this for everybody. But you're important enough for me to share with you that we can do this. And October 9th, I want to partner with you so that we can do that together. You deserve this chance. This moment belongs to you. And now is the time to say, I'm doing this. I did this, instead of, God, man, I wish I would have. Bet on you and bet on me. I'll see you at class October 9th, but I will also see you next week on the podcast. I love you guys so much. Have a great night.